Africa is now in a new wave in which they have to take only wise choices. Now, looking at Asia, there are two giants, India and China. Africans removed their eyes from the West, who are not considered now as just friends. There is less trust. Now, going to Asia, where they seem to be much more trustworthy, still there is a competition between the two giants of Asia, who are India and China. Despite what's being seen outside, who is really winning the war of Africa between India and China? First of all, the media side. Looking at the media side, I think this is to everyone, not only to me, but China is visible everywhere in Africa. I mean, in so many African countries, so many people complain about China being visible literally everywhere, in airports or whatever, you name it. But China being more present than India isn't the very first thing which shocked me. There is something else, which is also the difference of the military presence between India and China in African countries. And apparently, Chinese presence have been increasing more and more in Africa comparatively to India, but for different reasons. For the case of China, because of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is a plan which China started, linking the whole world to China to facilitate the movement of goods between China and so many other countries outside, planning to make them so powerful in terms of business. And because of that, they have been growing their military presence more in Africa because of building these infrastructures. When coming to India, their presence is mostly for peacekeeping and other things, trying to help African governments. As for example, in Congo, the peacekeeping of UN, recently they did again with Seychelles. Now, remember the business part of China with the Belt and Road Initiative? Now that brings me to another point of the business relationship between India and China with African countries. And that's where also another side where China has a much more advanced step than India. They have been working for years, not only with Africa, but with the whole world to sell their goods everywhere in the world. And Africa is one of the places which they've been using for that. And that is now the only place which creates the huge difference between India and China in Africa, which means that India is not present that much in terms of army, in terms of business, but trust and friendship, which is my last point. India have proven to be ready to work with African countries to build and make them better comparatively to so many other giants in the world. And if you compare the reason why African countries don't look anymore at the Western as their friends, but now look them as the guys who we know what they're here for, that might turn to be the same way in which China might become in the future because of their exclusively business relationship only with Africa. When India, every time they engage with Africa, there is something for Africa to win the same way there is something for India to win, which may create a long-lasting relationship. Africans don't want to deal anymore with Western, they prefer going with countries like Russia and others. The same way it might happen that in the future, the relationship between Africa and China might disappear because of understanding that they're here only for their gain and less for the gain of Africa. And now India appear to most African countries just like a brother who is here to help you, not to gain anything from you. And that is the huge difference which happens between India and China when it comes to who is really winning Africa. Thanks so much for being here. Catch you next time.